Hello, this is Zach, founder of Cascade Campers. I'm going to give you a tour of your van today. Let me tell you about your new refrigerator. First, it is a real refrigerator. Point one, turn your refrigerator off if there's nothing in it. It's a good reason to keep a six-pack of beer in there at all times. The refrigerator is significantly more efficient if there's stuff in it. If there is nothing in it, go ahead and turn it off. You can just push and hold the power button here for about 3 seconds and it turns off. To turn it back on again, it's the same thing. Push and hold it for about 3 seconds. Point two, the refrigerator has an excitement/lid removal feature. So when you open the lid, right about halfway here, it comes off. And if you're not expecting it, it will fall, it will crash, it will make a big noise. Nothing's broken, it's all very sturdy. It's actually a really handy feature when you want to load groceries in. You can just set it off to the side, put your bag of groceries right here, and while you're standing outside the van, be able to load the groceries in. And then once you're done, pop the lid right back on, just like so. Point three, the refrigerator has vents. There's a vent here and another vent on this side. It's important not to block the vents. This one, no problem, because it's out in the open. This one here, there's a really useful shelf back here. Just make sure that you don't fully block this vent right here. It just needs a little bit of airflow. So you can kind of partially block it with stuff, but just don't fully block it. Point four, your refrigerator can be set to whatever temperature you want. It can actually be a freezer as well. It just can't be a fridge and a freezer at the same time. The way you set your refrigerator is you push the set button here and then you push it a couple times until you get to the temperature, and then you go up or down and set it to whatever temperature you want. We by default set it to between 33 and 35 as we find that's the best for just regular refrigeration. It will flash a couple times and now it's set to the new temperature. Point five, your refrigerator can also do the tailgate flip. So if you're cooking inside, this is kind of the way we set it up for most of the time. But if you tend to do more tailgating or where you're doing more things outside of the van, you can actually pick the refrigerator up, spin it around, and drop it back into place. And then you can open it up to the back of the van. About your refrigerator, this type of refrigerator is not designed to be bolted in. Instead, we have a very tight spot where it fits in and it sits down in its little hole. The idea is if you get an accident or anything else, it's staying put. The one time it will come out is if you roll over the van. So don't roll over the van. Your house battery is stored under your refrigerator. You can take your refrigerator, pick it up, and just set it right up on the sink here to be able to access the battery compartment. In the battery compartment, you've got a couple different things going on. The first thing is you've got your battery isolator. That's the box that says battery doctor on the top of it. What this does is it connects the two batteries together when your engine's running and disconnects them when the engine's not running. This allows your house battery to charge when you're driving or when the engine's running and not run your car battery dead when you're camped out. The battery doctor has a fancy feature that allows you to jump your car off of this battery if you have run your car battery dead. There's a little button on top that says push. You push that little button until the override light comes on, and then you can go start your car and then come back and push it again and turn the override light off. In addition to the battery isolator, there is a circuit breaker back here. Important safety feature, highly unlikely to ever flip, similar to a circuit breaker in your house. We also give you a battery tender port. So this is a battery maintainer charger port, very standard. We have one on our website that we recommend, but really nearly any of them work just fine. This is really important if you have your van parked for long periods of time indoors. So all the camper equipment has a little bit of a draw, and that draw will run your house battery dead, and you want to avoid that. Your battery will last longer if you keep it charged. If you're parked outdoors, it's no problem at all. The solar panel is charging it all the time. When it comes time to change your battery, there's this battery wall. There's a little screw right up here. You can feel it, you can't see it. That will come out, and then there's two bolts that hold this bar down that the circuit breaker and battery isolator are attached to that you can pull off. We're gonna end up making another video in the future that shows the whole process of changing the battery. Your new Cascade Camper is equipped with 2 vent fans. These fans are used to pull warm air or really any air that's in the van and pulls it out. They're both installed on one side of the van, so you get a nice breeze potentially from whichever window you open up, so the air comes in and then this pulls air out. The fans open and close. You grab onto them, pull kind of back and forth, and that closes it, and then to push it up, it opens it up. From the top, it kind of looks like a little mushroom popping up out of the top. The fans have variable speed motors. There's a little knob here you can turn, And you can turn that, goes full speed, or you can turn it down. 2 fans on both full speed is a whole lot of airflow, more than you're going to need in almost every situation. The 2 fans is really nice though, because you can set them both on low and have really very little noise, but a lot of airflow at the same time. And then to close them, again, pull down, front, back, and they close right up. When you're driving, you definitely want to have them closed. Whenever you're sleeping in the van, you want to have at least one open, even if it's cold outside. It's important to keep the condensation down and just keep a little bit of fresh air inside the van. While these aren't rain proof, as there are other fans on the market that say they are, these, when they're open, even in the biggest downpours, the worst you're going to get is a couple of drips of water on the top of the refrigerator here. And it's highly unlikely. You really have to have truly sideways rain for it to actually happen like that. Let's talk about lighting. So we have one space here, obviously, but we like to think of it as different rooms depending on which light you have on. So we have our kitchen light right here, which has a bright and brighter setting. Great when you're doing dishes, when you're looking for something, when you're cooking. Probably not going to hang out in the van with that light just kind of staring at you. Then we have the living room light. This one here also has 2 levels. Warmer light, it's behind you, so it's indirect. It also sits right up behind you, so it works as a really nice reading light. This one, you're much more likely to hang out in the van with this light on. Next, we have the red lights. We think of this as more as the bedroom and lounge lights. These are dimmable from this knob right here, and it turns on red lights on both sides. The thing that's really great about red lights is it's a different part of your eye that sees the color red, so it doesn't mess with your night vision. So you can go in and out of the van and still see the stars, still see where you're walking around. And lastly, we have the factory lights here and here. They turn on and off by pushing on them. I generally don't use them because they work off of the car battery instead of the house battery. Let's talk storage. Inside the van, you have these 5 bins under here and these 3 storage areas here. The bins are held in with these twist locks. The bins are also removable. So these slide out and you can actually take these out, take them into the house to load them up, take them out and set them on a picnic table, whatever. Definitely the fact they come out is really handy. Slide right back in, twist it just like so. You also have these 3 bins under the sink. This bin here, right directly under the sink, is the only one you can get to when the bed is folded out. So I usually keep my stuff to make coffee in there, because sometimes you wake up and it's a little chilly outside. It's really nice to make coffee when you're still in bed. Let's talk about your new sink. The sink functions, you've got a tank over on the other side here that has a pump in the bottom of it and a faucet right here and then a drain that goes out the back. So what happens is the faucet, you turn it on, you can actually hear the pump kick on, and then you can adjust how much water. You either get a lot of water or just a little water. And the faucet moves all around, moves side to side, moves up and down. Just make sure it's moving here and not on this bottom point here. If it's moving on this bottom point, then there's a nut that's on the bottom that's coming loose. If it does come loose, it's not a big deal. You can stick your hand back under there and tighten it back up. In your Cascade Camper, your sink drains onto the ground right below the rear bumper on the right side. This is generally just fine if you're just brushing your teeth and washing your dishes, and again, use biodegradable soap and obviously be good. But for those times when you don't want to have any water go on the ground, we do give you a collapsible bucket that we store under the passenger seat, and that collapsible bucket you can just take, open, pop out, put it under here, and then the water goes into the bucket. And then you can take and pour the bucket wherever you need to pour the water. Now let's talk about your electrical system. This is the display that tells you what's happening in your battery system. The happy face up here at the top is primarily the only thing you really need to keep track of. If you got a happy face, life is good. This here is a picture of the solar panel, and as you can see, the sun is out, and as the little icon of a sun is here, and the little arrow is going across. This is telling you that your battery is charging at the moment. So in this case, we're charging. It's relatively late in the day here, so it's only 0.2 amps, but it is still charging. Also on this display unit, there's a bunch of these buttons on the bottom. You don't have to push any of them. If you push any of them, you're not going to hurt anything either, unless you push a whole bunch of them. Then there's a load function right here. This isn't used. You can just ignore that. Next to this is your primary power. So these are two cigarette lighter 12-volt ports. We give you a 2-port USB, and this is where you want to charge your phone. This is where you want to charge your tablet, anything like that. If you have a laptop you want to charge, the ideal scenario is you get a USB-C port that goes into this other cigarette lighter, and you charge your laptop off of that. It's always best to use the 12-volt directly versus using your inverter because it's more efficient. Right now we're in partial sun. As you can see, it's charging, but we're only at 0.2 amps. If you're in full direct sun, you're going to get almost 5 amps, just a little above or a little below. The battery meter is based on voltage. Simple answer to that is just it's not super accurate, and look at the happy face. If you got a happy face, all is good. The more technical answer here is this battery meter is based on voltage, unlike your cell phone that has a lot of software processing behind it. So it could show near half, but still have a whole lot of battery power in it. In addition to the two 12-volt ports we give you over here, we also give you an inverter. The inverter is the same as, you've got outlets just like you have in your house. This converts the 12 volts from your battery to 110 volts. And this, turn on and off with the switch. There's a little power light that comes on. Generally, I say don't use the inverter for things you're going to use on a really regular basis because the inverter is less efficient than using 12 volts directly. The process of taking 12 volts from the battery and converting it to 110 uses roughly 30% more power. A great example of this is an electric blanket. An electric blanket is a really great thing to use sometimes when you're in a camper van because it's small, it's lightweight, but it is great warmth. You can have a 12-volt electric blanket versus an 110-volt electric blanket plugged into here. For the same amount of heat out of the electric blanket, you're going to go through your battery 30% faster if you're plugged into here versus plugged into here. If you have something you want to use, like a laptop that you want to charge, you can use the inverter when you're driving. And when you're driving, the alternator is charging the battery ongoing. So it's essentially unlimited power. So you can just stick your laptop in one of these bins, run the cord up, plug it in, and good to go. The inverter is only 400 watts, so you're not drying your hair off of this, but you can use a whole lot of other things in it. This is the cooking section of the show. We give you a single burner stove that we store right here. It uses butane, so these butane cartridges here you can see. The butane cartridge has a little notch right here. This little notch has to be put right in. See this little lever here? You can tell it's in the right spot when it goes like that. It closes right in here. And to start the stove, you lock this. What this does is it actually pushes the bottle into place here. You can see this where it pushes the bottle in. Now the bottle's engaged. And then to light the stove, you just turn the knob and you have fire, just like that. Always unlock the stove when you're not using it. You want to make sure not to put the stove away with the bottle locked. I found that it works just fine to store the bottle in the stove because of the way that it's stored just upright like that, but it's also fine to just take the bottle out and store it somewhere else. You can use the stove inside the van as long as you have plenty of ventilation. So if you turn on one of your vent fans and pop your window open, you're good. Definitely do not use the stove inside if the vehicle is fully enclosed. The stove then goes right back in here. Just make sure the knob is towards the front of the van and facing up, just like so. We put carpet in here to keep it from rattling. It does sometimes still rattle just a little bit, and if it does, you can just take and shove just about anything in here. A sponge for the sink works good because it's a multi-purpose thing. Whenever you've got a small van, having things that function as more than one thing is always a good idea. The butane bottles are a little harder to find than your regular camping propane bottle, but only a little bit harder. Most camping stores have them. The cheapest place to get them is Asian markets. Oftentimes have them in big cases and definitely the best prices. Here's your water tank. Your water tank is removable, unlike most RVs, which is really handy. You can take it out and clean it and fill it and all of that. So to remove your water tank, pop this loose, pull this connector out, push this button here, and then you can pull your water tank right out. This is the button right here that we're pushing to get that out. And then to put the water tank back in, just slide it right back in. Make sure the hoses are out of the way. Clip it into place. So to connect it back in, you take this water connection and push it back in there. You'll hear it click. Then you take this electrical connection here, push it right back into there. A couple things that are important about the tank. One, this is a vent. This small one here, so if you open it up and you look close, there's a little hole in the side. Just make sure that there's at least a little sliver of that little hole that's showing. This allows air to go into the tank so that water can come out. This tank, because it's removable, can be refilled. All the components for this are food grade. The hose is from the beer industry, and some of the connectors, some of the other things, it's all food grade components. So the idea is you can drink the water out of here. You're also able to take this tank out and clean it so you can keep it nice and clean. So the water you put in is the water you're getting out. When I'm on the road, I generally fill it at grocery stores. Grocery stores a lot of times have those water filling stations, and you put $2 in and you fill up your water jug. Every one of those I've ever tried, it works just great in. When you're filling it up at the water station, what you're gonna do is you're gonna open this lid here, open it up, and then you're able to fill it. And then close that back up. If you're gonna store it for an extended period of time, I would suggest emptying the tank, leave the lid off, let it dry out completely. Better for storage. To winterize the system, what you can do is take the tank in the house, pull this connector out of here. I'm going to disconnect this just so the pump doesn't turn on. Open up your sink valve, push your thumb on the end of here, and the water will drain out. And you drain that water out until there's no more water coming out. And now your entire water system is drained, and if it freezes, it's not going to cause any problems. Clean it as often as you feel that you need to, similar to a Camelback. So it really depends on what kind of water you're putting in it. If you're putting in city water and you're going through it regularly, you can go probably for quite some time without cleaning it, where if you're using well water and it's sitting in there for more extended periods of time, you'll probably have to clean the tank a little more often. There's lots of different ways to clean it. We use this stuff called One Step when we build it, because we have to sanitize the whole thing. Vinegar is also a great way to clean the inside of your tank. Okay, let's show you how your new bed works. Strap here, knob here, pull the knob, pull the strap, bed folds out, grab the cushion, push it in like this, and push it down in the middle. The key is your head is above your feet whenever you're sleeping. So however you park the van, put your head on the side that your head is above your feet. Otherwise, you're going to wake up with a really bad headache. To fold the bed back, grab the cushion again. It is important to take the cushion off before you fold the bed up. Grab this here, slide the bed back until it clicks. Take the cushion, and it Velcros right back on. If you're staying in the van by yourself, the other thing you can do if you want to not fold the bed entirely out is take this back cushion, put it on top of the bottom cushion, and sleep on top of here. That way you can still get to everything here. We give you curtains to block the light and give you some privacy. The curtains are held on with Velcro like this, and then they slide across and click into place. The way they click into place is there's magnets that are sewn in the curtains. The other thing about the curtains we do is they're gray material that faces out, and then whatever fun stuff you want on the inside. The front curtain is same as the back in that it's got Velcro and slides across. I usually grab it, give it a little pull across, slide it across here. It's got Velcro here, Velcro's right under there, Velcro here, Velcro's right under there. And now, all blocked off, nobody can tell you're in here. To close the curtain, just unvelcro it, and slide this across. Just take and roll it in on itself. Because if you don't roll it in on itself, this corner here is going to flap when you drive with the window open. And then just take and Velcro it back into place. There's additional storage area in your van behind the bed. This area here goes all the way through to the back and comes out all the way to here when the door is closed. The one thing to make note is you want to make sure that whatever it is you put below here, otherwise you'd have to move it before you fold the bed out. There's also cup holders in this door right in here. I tell you mostly because you could go for years not knowing they're there, but they're really handy. A really small fire extinguisher or a thing of bear spray fits in there really well. There's additional storage under the floor here. This is what would be the passenger footwell if it was a passenger van. It's not very convenient to get to, but it's a fair amount of space and good for things that you wouldn't need to get to very often. It's about that wide, about that deep, and about that tall, and it's on both the passenger side and the driver's side. There's a circuit breaker up here in the front in the engine compartment. This is the wire here. This wire runs all the way around to the back to the battery isolator. This wire here is connected to the car battery. This here is a circuit breaker. If you push this button, it pops open, and push it back in to click it. Same as a circuit breaker in your house. This is the only place where we connect to the car's electrical system. Other than this, they're two totally separate electrical systems. This circuit breaker does flip every once in a while, I've seen, in the right combination of hot weather and your house battery being especially low. The one way you can tell, well, there's two ways you can tell. One is if you look at it, you'll see it's flipped out. The other is whenever the engine's running, the battery meter should show full. So if the battery meter doesn't show full when the engine's running, this is flipped out, and all you have to do is just take and push it back in until it clicks. We put your solar panel on the roof. We actually attach it with the same glue that windshields are held in with. The Ram Promaster City has fixed mounting points for roof racks. So as you can see, up towards the front, the middle, and the back are the three places where you can mount crossbars, any combination of those. The solar panel works best when it's kept clean. You can take the whole van through a car wash, no problem. Just make sure your vents are closed. Another tip, when you're staying in the van, push down here to lock the van instead of using the key fob. If you use the key fob, it turns the alarm on. So then if you open the door from the inside in the middle of the night, the car alarm will go off. So if your van comes with windows, or you opt to have us install windows on the side for you, they're pop-out windows. So they pop out like so. Let me show you a few things about your rear doors. One is this little lever right here you can use to open the door from the inside. We add this handle right here so that you can close the door from the inside. Another feature is these doors by default stop right here, but if you push these little yellow things here, then you can swing the door all the way open. Hopefully this tour was helpful. Now it's time to go and adventure in your van. Take some pictures, post them, use the hashtag Cascade Campers. You can also find out anything more you want to find out about Cascade Campers at our website, cascadecampers.com. See you soon.